Welcome back to True Story with John Gibson. Today we have a special guest. I've known this gentleman almost 20 years, I guess, dare say 20 years. Alan McQueen. Man, thanks for joining me, Alan.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. Appreciate it.
Of course, this is absolutely my pleasure. Oh, hit the camera there. So like I just said, so I've known Alan since really, I say college days. We were freshmen at Bethel College at the time, not Bethel University, but really kind of prior to that in high school, we both wrestled in the same area in Middle Tennessee. So Alan was a guy that kind of stuck out even back then. I mean that in a complimentary way. So I kind of knew him. We were kind of the same size too. So like for sure it was relative that we would watch each other's matches. So anyway, he's just a guy I've known for a long time. But today's conversation is a gift to me just to even catch up with him. It's been a long time since we've spoken.
It has been since the TNA pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's exactly, man.
That wasn't even on purpose. We just bumped into each other.
Yeah, so for some context, exactly right. So Alan and I had been years since we had seen each other, since college. And all of a sudden we were at a live event for TNA wrestling in Nashville, Tennessee. And we were like sitting a row or two apart. And it was like, Alan, John, what's up? And it was amazing. And I dare say that was one of the greatest shows I've ever been to. Amazing show.
Interesting though, I wasn't really a TNA fan, Impact now, but my friend who is had a ticket and he just offered it to me. I was like, cool. And then there you were. And
yeah, I know life's funny like that, how the universe works out, reconnects and stuff. Man, it was a cool time. I agree. I wasn't a huge TNA fan. I had my own sort of TNA story, but it was a cool time because at the time they had Kurt Angle, Hulk Hogan. They had a bunch of the old school stars, and then they had their own homebrew people like AJ Styles, guys like that, Eric Young, you know. But yeah, it was a cool show. And yeah, it was awesome bumping into you. Got exchanged information at that time. Yeah. I know life is so funny, man. When we met each other in college, like one of the advantages of going to Bethel was we were given laptops. It was like this new program from Dell. And it's just so funny. People forget now you can go to Facebook or Instagram and find almost anyone. And it was not that easy back then, you know, to connect. No. It's crazy. Well, before we go back in time, I guess I want to ask more about what your life is like now. What do you, I mean, I have my predictions about what you would become for sure, but what's your career, man? What are you working on? Passions? What's your life like now?
Well, I'm a college librarian. I work at Talladega College in Talladega, Alabama.
Awesome.
I've been there. This is my 6th year. For 4 years, I was just the program's a reference librarian. Beginning of last year, I got promoted to director, so I'm kind of running the library now.
That's cool. Wow.
I also work as the debate coach there. I'm kind of overseeing the Dr. William R. Harvey Museum of Art, home of our Amistadmurals, which if we have time, I'll talk about the murals a little. They're beautiful.
Yeah, please share. Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, let me just get into that real quick. The library, Savery Library, where I work, was built 1938. And it's named after William Savery, one of the former slaves who founded Talladega College in 1867. He founded it buying a building that he built as a slave, as a high school for white boys.
Wow.
Those same slaves then came back and bought the building, turned it into the first black college. So the library is named after him. It was built in 1938. And for its construction, the president, Dr. Bill Gallagher, commissioned an artist, Hale Woodruff, to paint 6 murals. They're the Amistadmurals. The first 3 tell the story of the Amistad uprising. It was a ship full of Africans around Hispaniola, around Cuba area in 1838, who were able to rise up and take over the ship. They were then arrested, put on trial for murder. Eventually they were freed and some returned home, some stayed in America. The first 3 tell that story. The second 3 kind of tell the story of Talladega College. The first is a scene of the Underground Railroad, some fugitive slaves escaping north. The second is the first day of registration at Talladega College. It has William Savery in the painting. And the third is the building of the library. So these murals were painted in 1938. They hung in the library for 69 years. And they were appraised and valued at $40 million.
Wow.
But in real bad condition, so they had to go through a restoration process. Now they're valued at $50 million. We built a museum to house them in. And I was just a clerk at the museum as I worked at the library. But the museum director left in February, March. So I kind of been overseeing the museum while doing my other stuff.
Congratulations.
The murals are beautiful. They're incredible. I talk about them all the time. I'm always trying to get people to come to. I try to get you to come when
Yeah, I'll come. Oh yeah. This is exactly who I thought you would become. For the record, for a lot of different reasons, this is exactly almost predictable in some ways. It's amazing. Although I thought you'd be a professor, but it doesn't. It totally aligns that you're at a university.
I can't be a professor. I wasn't a good student. Like I don't like homework. I don't like studying. So I understand that. I understand that too much to give it to somebody else.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're gonna come to class and be like, "Where's your assignment?" You're gonna say you didn't do it. I understand. I didn't want to do it. So
yeah, I get it.
The librarian kind of lets me be a professor without being a professor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, now, so I didn't know that history of the college, of the university. So that's all new to me and so interesting. Such a compelling story. But it's so interesting too. This is Alabama we're talking about. Like you talk about, I mean, still there's a lot of racial prejudice in Alabama. Like it's amazing that this story took place. This history took place, I should say.
Well, I mean, a lot of Black history takes place in the South because that's where Black people are.
Right. Sure.
So and then HBCUs, Black colleges, there's about 100 of us, mostly in the South, and we all share similar stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's racism within the story. I mean, we weren't given water till the 1920s. We have buildings that were burnt down, so there's a lot of racism within the story. And
sure.
Like I said, we're not unique to other Black colleges. That's just the experience of being Black in the South.
Yeah. I had very little. First of all, thank you for sharing all that. That's great. It's amazing. It's a great perspective. And I can't wait to see those murals. I can't wait to see it so much. Anyway, so I appreciate that. But one thing I've always, I guess, not struggled with, but you're so hard to pin down. Like you're a historian in so many ways. You have, I feel like you're a crusader for causes you believe in, but you're also incredibly rational. These are all my opinions of you, okay? But I mean, but you're also kind of super rational about things. So I would presume you would have an opinion about something, and I'm way wrong often. And I'm like, oh God, so I can never guess how you're gonna kind of perceive something, How do you self-classify yourself? I mean, I guess we'll say politically, I don't know. I guess we'll start, but what do you identify as? Because I don't know.
Politically, I mean, I don't really do the whole Democrat, Republican, liberal
party thing.
Well, I think that whole structure, that whole liberal conservative ideology is Western. It's Eurocentric. It's more pertaining to white people and white culture. I mean, it was established, it was created before Black people had the right to vote, before Black people had power. So the problems that they address were created before Black people could have their own input into these situations.
Okay.
So while I don't do that, I do pay attention, things affect everybody, decisions are made, policies. Really, I just try to, I think everybody has rights. I think everybody should be treated fairly. Everybody should be treated equally. Everybody should have opportunity. I mean, as you notice, I probably lean a lot more towards being pro-Black, Black nationalism, Black power. But that doesn't necessarily mean.
But not always, though. Sometimes you're like, he deserved it. And I'm like, shit.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean being against anybody else,
Yeah.
Being pro-Black means I believe Black children who don't go to good schools should go to good schools. Now, that's not saying anybody else should go to a bad school.
Right.
Saying the police officers shouldn't.
It's more of an equal rights position. Everybody should have it.
Yes, everybody should have it.
You're advocating for your group.
And because I don't believe this is true. I come from a group that doesn't have equal rights, equal access, equal power. So advocating for that isn't necessarily trying to take away from anybody, which is sometimes perceived as. Because I'm can be blunt, I could be incorrect in my speech. I say things that could be offensive. But at the end of it, I just want everybody to be treated equally, everybody to be treated fairly. I've never mistreated anybody, I hope.
No, yeah, no way.
Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. And if that's the lens you're looking through, is equality. Like that's the approach.
A weird thing is, I say I believe equality for everybody. I don't, and that's also another reason I can't do the liberal conservative thing, because I believe both sides are right in certain instances. So like, if I believe everybody has the right to life. Remember, I used to wear my anti-death penalty shirts at Bethel. Just walking around on campus with the shirt that was anti-death penalty. That's because I believe that person has the right to life. I also believe an unborn human being has the right to life. Because everybody has the right to life. So therefore, I can't be liberal anti-death penalty or conservative anti-abortion, because I believe both.
Interesting. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, great example. Thank you for all that, because it's so interesting. And we were kids back then talking about really complex things, but across from lunch table in the cafeteria, we would debate certain issues, and I mean, we're talking like Bush is in office. So it's a long time ago.
Bush. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're having just all these discussions. And I remember oftentimes we would or for me anyway, the conversation would stalemate. I would lose the ability to contribute, at least after you would often come to a point of you'd say, hey, product their environment. And I promise you, for 15 years that I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And back then I didn't get it when it happened, but I'd be like, what do you mean? I don't believe it. Nah. And I took my unique situation where I was kind of born in this really poor circumstance, and I got out of it, but I got out of it with a lot of help from people and a lot of luck. It wasn't that I did anything super particular. I worked hard after I got the opportunities, but I was put in a great place, and then I took advantage of it. Anyway, so I didn't quite have that perspective in my youth at 19 or whatever. But anyway, it wasn't until, and not to go down this road, I just want to give an illustration of when I had like a legit, like Oprah aha moment, It was the George Floyd. And I'm watching the debates over Facebook between my white and black friends, and here in Chicago, where it was such a hotbed and everybody on both sides felt passionate. And I saw a little bit of both, kind of like you were saying. And I wasn't about to weigh in as a white guy. And then that was my thought. And day one, day two goes by, and I'm just watching this happen. I'm feeling like the world's crumbling around me. I'm feeling passionate about this, but I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, how do I feel about this? Excuse me. And then this occurred to me, and this is when it connected to you directly in our series of conversations back in college. I go, I've been pulled over however many times in my life. Let's say 5 times, right? 3 to 5 times. I go, my worst fear getting pulled over was the cost of the ticket. And then maybe my insurance is going to go up, get raised. But that was my worst fear. It was like, and then I'm in trouble, or the money of the ticket was it. And I would shut down the radio, turn off the car, watch the cop, and then 50-50, I got let go, or I got the ticket. But so let's say if I've been pulled over 5, I've gotten 3 tickets in my life. Okay. So I got let go a couple times too. But when that happened, I had a moment of, I don't know if it was clarity or whatever, that aha moment where I go, shit, I never had to fear I may die. Like, I could lose my life. And I mean, and I certainly wasn't scared of going to jail, which is totally terrifying and horrific of an experience. Well, been there, done that, but not for those reasons. But that wasn't even the concern of my worst case scenario, So that's when I thought productive environment. Like, I thought this is a different thing. This is a different world that I'm not privy to. Like, this is white privilege, maybe. It's like that I denied. I was like, I don't have that. Like, I don't have that. Because I just didn't feel like anything was given to me. But totally. So I don't know. I say that to pay you a compliment, if any of that makes sense, I guess.
It does. When you bring up product of environment, one thing that other people have told me, who've also said that they didn't understand, is when they had children and now they're responsible for their child.
Yeah.
And they're responsible for the environment that their child will grow up in. So their child is a product of their environment.
Yes.
So they realize if they're a good parent, their child goes one way. If they're a bad parent, their child goes another way.
Totally. Yeah.
And like a lot of adults, we all come from those situations.
Mm-hmm.
So what environment did your parent make you a product of?
It's true.
And a lot of people, they don't realize that until they have children, and now the responsibility is theirs to somebody else.
Exactly.
I have to create a good environment for this person.
Yeah. And even then, you only have what tools you've been given because of your environment and exposure, so you're still limited in a way. Even if you had the most loving, nurturing, whatever level of their aptitude and education and experience, that's your level now. Like it's not linear, so that's why things like exposure to other cultures, people, environments, so college, these things are mind-blowing because it's so important, but yeah, it's crazy how we get in our bubbles. We certainly do. Yeah.
And I work at a black college, and a lot of our kids come from really, really bad environments. And I compare that to my experience at Bethel, where we had a lot of white kids from poor rural areas.
Yeah.
And yes, we had different environments and different histories and different struggles, but there was still that same basic, we're struggling in life because of who we are and where we are.
Well, it was counterbalanced with white, rural, and then inner city like Memphis, black or African American. So it was these two very different. But you're right, the shared struggle of poverty. Maybe we'll start there. Yeah,
everybody experiences poverty.
I feel like maybe that was
not necessarily a race thing. It just is, and
So I think, and there, and there's always going to be cliques and different things, but it was definitely different. But that stuff is so important, and it's so interesting that like some of the guys that to me were scary in the beginning of the year, by the end of the year, years later, I've met up with or seen in public and be like, hey man, it's so funny, like it's so weird. Yeah.
Remember when we used to rumble? What was their names? Wolfpack.
Yeah.
We were freshmen, and they were like the sophomores and juniors.
Yeah.
It would just be us and them in Morris Hall just rumbling.
Dude, I will never forget in my life. I'll never forget a lot of things, but I will never forget one of the worst ass whoopings I've ever had. One of the most embarrassing moments, wrestling that is anyway, was I was talking major trash to this one basketball player because I was in the weight room working out and the basketball team came in. And this kid was really tall, but he couldn't bench press. And it's leverage. Like it's a leverage thing. He didn't need his upper body. He's a basketball player. It's good legs, right? And he was struggling. And I just was talking trash. And I was like, man, you're weak. I would pin you in 30 seconds. I'd pin you in whatever, 60 seconds at the most. So everybody heard me say that. I don't know what I thought I was going to achieve by saying that. So immediately everybody was like, let's see it. Let's do it.
Let's go.
They circle up and I was like, what have I done? So now I'm in the middle of this thing and like, this is happening. So I wrestled this guy to the point of exhaustion. I think, he was hard to take down. It was exhausting. It was terrible. I finally get him down, turn him over, but way over than like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. Get him done. And I'm exhausted, but my ego is fragile. It's bruised. And at that time, do you remember the football player Prime Time?
PT.
This is how I remember him. Jacked, like just jacked, way bigger, stronger than me. But and handsome guy, whatever. And I remember he was like, all right, that's it. I want some. And my ego was already bruised. And I thought, look, he's 20 pounds bigger, 30 pounds bigger, maybe, whatever he was. And I was like, but he doesn't know how to wrestle. I got him. I was still so confident. It was so ridiculous. And I remember that guy ragdolled me until he was tired. It was like a kitten playing with the ball of yarn, just whoosh, 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 whoosh. And my knees were bruised, my palms. It was terrible. And then I remember anyway, after it's said and done, and he was done playing with me, getting up and like dusting myself off and looking at you, and you were just like, dog. There's nothing to say. Oh, brutal. Ego.
I have an opposite story. It was actually a good wrestling story. You were there for this.
All right, I'll take
remember Barry?
Yeah, Barry.
Yes, remember he was an MMA fighter, or he was training to be MMA.
Yeah.
I remember he said that nobody could hold him down. You know, I weighed like 115, 120
Yeah.
pounds. I was like, dude, I promise you I could hold you down. He's like, no, you couldn't. I was like, all right. So I got my legs in, you know, got on top, got my legs in. I was like, how long do you want to try? Like, I'll get down in like 2 minutes. Like 10 minutes later, you know, I'm just rolling them over, putting them in halves,
Oh, beautiful.
arm bars. Every time you try to do something, wrist control, shoulder pressure.
He was probably 145, 150 at that, maybe 160, right?
I mean, he was more than me.
Yeah, awesome. I know.
remember
I
he
love
eventually,
wrestling.
I remember I eventually rolled him in like a bulldog sort of thing, and I cradled his head with my legs. And at that part, he was in a position that he just didn't like. He just quit.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, such control. Yeah, brutal. So, you know, you wrestled in high school at McGavick, right?
McGavick Raiders.
Yeah. Did you start in middle school before that? How did you get into wrestling?
I did. I started in 7th grade.
Oh.
I went to MLK, Martin Luther King Magnet School at the time. I didn't want to
You're
wrestle.
always smart. Yeah.
I didn't want to wrestle. I wanted to play basketball. That's what I've always played. MLK was 7th through 12th, and I led a senior named Hank Cardwell. I always remember this dude because he's the one who got me into wrestling.
Yeah, for sure.
He talked me into going to wrestling practice. I was like, man, I'm a little skinny dude. I can't wrestle. He's like, no, you wrestle other little skinny dudes. It's like, oh, okay. And if I don't like it, basketball practice is the next week. You know, I could try this for a week. That week was all it took.
Yeah, for sure.
It was for me.
You know, I feel like you love it or you hate it. You know, you're gonna love it or hate it.
I feel like you hate it, but you either love to hate it or you just hate it, because
that's true.
Nothing about wrestling was fun. You know, it's sacrifice and struggle and work and
grind.
That's all it is. But at the end of it, you do it again.
And you do it again. I know. It's crazy. The fundamentals I learned from wrestling, like I mean, character-wise, for sure, I've taken away with me the rest of my life, and I'm so appreciative of those. But even from a self-defense perspective, when I learned jujitsu later, I mean, it didn't make it did make jujitsu easier. It really did, actually. You know, like I mean, there was still a lot more left to learn, and there is left to learn. But knowing the balance, the hips, how to hold, how to ride it back, how to get into positions, front headlocks, like a lot of the framework is there in general grappling that translated for me, and I was so grateful, for that. So I'm so appreciative of that. It's something that I hope my son gets into as he ages. I'm not going to force him. I'm going to expose him. You know, we'll see if he picks it. But man, I hope so, for sure.
I take my friends' kids to wrestling tournaments. I take my nephew to wrestling tournaments. I'm like, let me try to nudge you into it.
Wait, so let's give her a quick shout out. So is that April's kids?
No, that's Shelby's kids.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah. Have you ever coached or assistant coached?
I assistant coached for 2 years. After I graduated high school, my brother went to a private school, Pope John Paul II, for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And it was their first 2 years in existence.
Oh, okay.
You know, private schools have rules where you have to do extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the kids picked wrestling, and they'd never wrestled before. It was a private school, so a lot of the kids who go to private school aren't the physical, aggressive, athletic types anyway. You know, they're
more cerebral, maybe.
Well, they're just a sheltered, I don't want to say soft, but soft.
Yeah, sure. So
the coach asked Chico, my brother, to ask me if I would help out. And so for 2 years I did. I would come home during winter break. And for those 3 weeks, help out with the team. It was cool. And I had just gotten done wrestling, so I wasn't done wrestling yet, even though my career was over.
I understand that.
Here's 2 more years of me now being able to get on the mat and still wrestle.
Yeah.
It was fun on both ways.
I volunteered a couple of years at Montgomery Bell Academy, MBA, Nashville. And of all the schools, I was like, hated these guys growing up. Like I couldn't have hated anyone more, you know, but I ended up loving those kids helping out, you know, and I couldn't begrudge them for their resources. I was in their weight room, like showing up an hour early because I wanted to use it. Like I was like, this is amazing. Like this is amazing.
Have like small college type facilities.
100%.
Yes. 100%. Oh, you mentioned NBA. This is a real interesting story. So I worked at the Bellevue Library in Nashville before I moved down here. And I was in there one day and I was making somebody a library card. And I looked at his name. I go, Philip Simpson.
Simpson.
The 4-time state champion, you know. Brothers all won the state championships.
Yeah.
And I go, Philip Simpson. I go, are you the Philip Simpson? He just kind of gives me a look like, what? And I notice his ears are all deformed.
Yeah.
It's the worst cauliflower you can imagine.
Yeah.
I go, I can tell by your ears. Yeah, you're Philip Simpson. I was like, I wrestled at the same time you wrestled.
Same. Everybody. We were that generation.
Like everybody back then knew who the Simpsons were, and we still know who you are. And me and him, not really meaning him so much as me, his wife and his children, because they would come to the library.
That's cool.
I had this little friendship. I was like, this is though. Back then, I used to dream about, could I one day make myself on the mat and pin this dude? And
oh man, he made me cry twice.
But now we're
legit.
But now we're as adults.
Yeah.
Friendly. Just
that's
how life works.
It is. It's really fun. They're really good guys, like those Simpson guys. I mean, I volunteered for their dad. He was still there. I think he's still, maybe at least he was at the time. But and I'm trying to think. The youngest son, I got to help coach him 2 summers in a row. I cannot recall his name right now, but I think he went into the seminary.
Was it at NBA or was it at Father Ryan?
It was an NBA.
William?
No. Yeah, it'll come to me an hour after we talk. Shoot. Anyway, but I remember hearing he went to the seminary like a year or 2 after graduating, or he was going, and I remember thinking like, well, that's surprising because I thought he would do well if he wanted to date girls and stuff. But I was like, if you have that calling, go do that.
Your calling is your calling.
Yeah, go do it. Yeah, I support that for sure. But man, it's that whole family, like you said, both schools, that stock, that some people. So I'm jealous of that. Those wrestling families, those lineages, you know.
The dynasties.
Yeah, that's why their ears are like that, you know, because they're doing that at Thanksgiving at 2 years old.
Yeah. They're born doing it.
So let's kind of transition over to professional wrestling. Are you an AEW fan?
I am a huge AEW fan.
My man. All right, so let's be topical. Did you check out this CM Punk press conference?
I didn't see the press conference.
Okay.
I read afterwards about it. And I read about backstage stories that happened after the press conference with punches being thrown and chairs being thrown. And
right. What is going on in AEW? Or no.
He's always had that reputation. So
yeah.
I've always heard he was hard to work with when he was with WWE. You know, he's full of himself because he has the right to be full of himself.
Well, that's what exactly right. I've heard that reputation too. And I watched clips of that press conference and I get he was angry or whatever. And everything you have to take, like, is this a work shoot? Does she work? Like you have to take that into consideration. But I'm watching and I'm going, either he's like a little bit worse of an actor than I remember, because I remember it being better, or I was like, he's really angry. And I was like, and he's kind of, as they would say, going into business for himself right now. He's just hot-shotting this mic and he's venting because he's upset. And I was like, man, this would be so difficult to work with. Like, he's just contrary. Like, and it's all about him, right?
He just isn't happy.
Just isn't happy, right? Yeah. Be happy, man. Yeah. You're in your hometown. You're a millionaire. People cheer you.
You just won the championship. Be happy.
You're living your dream. Yeah. Can you imagine the owner or Tony Khan next to him? Like I don't know. You got to check out the clip. A couple of times you just see his eyes go, oh. I see him. Punk answers. You see him have these mini heart attacks. I just watch his poor anxiety. I'm like, oh, this poor guy.
I'll have to check that out.
I shouldn't take enjoyment in it. But
did you watch the pay-per-view?
No, I didn't, but I read it. I read the results. It looked good. I mean, it is tough. They went up against WWE cards, though.
It wasn't their best pay-per-view cycle, but it was a good pay-per-view.
Yeah.
AEW's kind of losing momentum a little bit. They need to
that's
get
the
it back.
thing. Do you think that they're going to adjust the star power situation? I mean, it seems like more people are going to go over to WWE now, Triple H in there.
I think they're about to restart Ring of Honor. And a lot of the lesser people will probably go there.
Mm-hmm.
And like the big names will stay with AEW with the star power. But like the lower card people will probably go be upper card people in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. Have you ever been two-part question. Do you think Kenny Omega has many miles left? That's one. And two, have you ever been a big fan of the Young Bucks? What do you think of them?
About Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, I've actually never watched anything of them until AEW.
Okay. Same here, actually. I wish I knew more, but until AEW, I just heard. Yeah, same.
Yeah, I never knew I didn't know who they were at all.
Okay.
I kind of like the Young Bucks. They're a little too independent for me. You know, independent wrestling is different than TV wrestling. Mm-hmm. You can hit 10 finishing moves in an independent match and it doesn't matter because...
Exactly, yeah. They get up from a finisher in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, so like they're a little too indie for me.
Yeah.
But they're incredible workers, very talented. Even though they're this new age, flippy, not necessarily selling everything, they still have the grounded Southern wrestling, like psychology to their storytelling. Mm-hmm. And I like that.
Yeah.
With Kenny Omega, I've heard he's really injured. I knew he had to take that time off because he's injured.
Right.
But it's like you just said with CM Punk, you know, what's the work and what's the shoot? How much of it's real?
Yeah.
In the world of wrestling, you have to take everything with that grain of salt because everything's a work.
Yeah, you never know. Right, exactly. It is. Let me ask you your opinion about this guy, because in my opinion of him has changed 2 or 3 times. Like, and lately I have a new opinion. Chris Jericho, what do you think?
I think as a wrestler, Chris Jericho's great. Just way he's able to keep going. He keeps reinventing himself. I mean, he's now 50 years old in AEW doing it again. Mm-hmm. I remember Chris Jericho from WCW. I was a WCW fan.
Yeah.
I quit watching wrestling when WCW went away because I didn't like that WWE beat him. I was that mad at WWE for doing it. So I've always seeing what he did then as 20, what he's doing now at 50.
Yeah.
But for his specific what he's doing right now character, I think it's annoying.
Yeah, I don't like his new character either. It's like Fat Rockstar or something.
You know, first it was the whole wizard thing. I'll throw the fireball.
Yeah, that's right.
And now it's the sports entertainer thing. No, I just don't like that.
He's had I didn't realize until this is what I guess I appreciate about him in a couple ways. He's really good at putting himself over. He'll tell you about his own achievements.
Yeah.
Which I guess is good because he reminds you. And he was going through a bunch of his. I remember I remember WCW for sure, but I wasn't a Jericho fan. He was a guy. He was on the peripheral. When he came to WWE after the time, I guess, and it was Y2J, I loved it. He was obnoxious, but he was all in and I loved it. And it was a cool intro. But I forgot for a couple of his things there, but when he did the list version where he would come out and do obnoxious lists, man, that was amazing. That's some of my favorite stuff. I was Jericho's hilarious.
He actually started that in WCW.
Yeah, back in the day and then brought it back. Yeah. What a creative idea.
He was feuding with Dean Malenko, the man of 1,000 holds.
Yes.
So he had 1,004 holds. And he read them all. And every other hole was armbar.
He's so great, man. That's so funny. And I guess it's cool, dude. You can't knock the guy. He's got to live every persona and dream he's ever wanted. Rock star, wrestler, Japan star, USA. He's transcended all these different things. So my most recent opinion is I'm a fan, but I'm a fan of the body of work. It wasn't that I've followed him ride or die the whole time.
No, like I said, I'm a fan of Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
What he's doing now, I can take or leave.
So who are you most, I guess, who do you like or appreciate the most right now in AEW?
Well, first it's Sting. Sting showed
Yeah,
up.
Sting, dude. I met him in an airport like 2 years ago.
Nice.
Such a nice guy. I was like, I'm a fan. I gotta get a picture. I'm sorry. I was like, I may not ever see you again. He was so nice. Yeah, and he's big. He's still big. He's got to be 6'3". Like he's a big dude. Yeah.
And great. I like Orange Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy's cool.
I think great. The way I think his psychology in the wrestling ring, how he's able to do his "I'm not trying" slacker thing, but it fits into the story of the match.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah, you know who doesn't resonate with me at all is Jon Moxley.
Yeah,
like, I don't get it. I've never got it. Like even when I get it, like I understand what he's doing, but I'm like I'm not a fan. Like I don't know. I hate him.
I like his matches because he can brawl, but I think there's a place for that. Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that place is the top of the card.
Well, I guess I agree because I liked him a lot when it was him with Seth and Roman because he had that brawler. He was the hardcore. They could throw someone out. And all of a sudden, he'd bust him in the forehead. He was almost an old school enforcer in a way. And I did like him then. Yeah, in that regard. But on his own, like the slackery, aloofy thing,
no.
I don't get you're 40. Stop. Like, you can't do that. I don't know. It's crazy. Were you surprised when Cody Rhodes left?
I wasn't surprised when it happened because I had been reading about it was going to happen.
Oh, okay.
But when I first heard that it might happen, I was like, how? He's the founder. Like
that's what I thought too. Like he was really that, like, yeah, exactly. He was the kind of the first person.
Anti WWE. Like he was going to take down the evil empire. That was his mission. Now he's joined it again.
Yeah, I mean, you never say never in that universe. That's for sure. How about this? We'll end on this as far as wrestling conversation, but this is the big one. Vince McMahon. How about a world without Vince McMahon? This year is going to be my 40th birthday. It's coming April, and lines right there the week of WrestleMania, and I was like, this would be the one if I was going to do it and treat myself and just do the floor, like really do it. This is the year, my 40th birthday. And then when Vince retired, and we'll talk about why and stuff, I had that moment where I was like, I don't even know if I want to go anymore. Like, it'll be the same, but maybe not the same. I don't know. It was weird.
He's bigger than WWE. He is professional wrestling. Like Vince McMahon is all of it. Like him and first his dad, but then he took a local promotion and made it this global thing. I mean,
global, yes.
I mean, so many ideas, so many new characters, new matches. They all ran through him, and he's beyond. I mean, even these big stars who made it outside of wrestling, like The Rock and John Cena, like they all got their start because of Vince McMahon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even people who aren't even in WWE, who've never been there, wrestling wouldn't be here at all like it is without what he did.
Yeah.
So with him walking away, it's like, man, you're like the Godfather, the commissioner, you're the president, you're all of it.
Right.
And now you're gone. But I did hear he was losing it a little bit, in terms of.
Which I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't work an 80-hour week for 70 years, or whatever, 55 years,
So I think it might have been time.
Yeah.
That way for him to step down. But then, then scandals and stuff happened, and
for sure, he deserves credit for everything you just said in the wrestling industry and what he did and how he changed it. But he was so innovative about things. The guy had WrestleMania 1 on closed circuit, which is pre-pay-per-view, and then he skyrocketed the pay-per-view market, and then boxing piggybacked and the UFC piggybacked, but he was the guy who said, let's try this. And really that in the porn industry, pay-per-view, and then he said, I'm going to take global cable expansion and buy all these mini cable networks and put my product across the US and world by using these things called satellites. And then he created and disrupted the cable industry. And then 10 years after the internet boom, the dot-com boom, before streaming was ever invented, he goes, I'm going to invent my own online universe and then stream all my own content because I don't like YouTube and the other people can handle it. They have to come to us for our archive and then new content. So he creates WWE Universe Online, totally expands in another way. But now we have Netflix, Hulu, all these streaming platforms. He was 10 years ahead of that. Like, the guy
he was
genius.
Always looking forward.
Genius.
Yeah.
And also sounds like a pretty bad guy. It also sounds like he maybe took advantage of a couple ladies, but he was a genius, you know, for sure. It is weird. It's weird to not have that guy's presence a part of wrestling. You know, that's all we know, you know. And I feel, are you a current fan of WWE? Kind of the product? No, me either, really. Yeah.
Like I said, I was a WCW fan during the war, and I didn't like what they did with WCW wrestlers when they went.
Yeah, they killed them all off.
Because Vince was going to win. You know, he was going to make sure even when Sting wrestled Triple H at WrestleMania.
I know.
15 years later.
I know.
WWE still had to beat WCW.
And like, why not give us Undertaker versus Sting? Actually give us what we want. And then beat Sting. But at least give us the one we want. Like, yeah, really weird decisions.
I would have been happy with Undertaker beating Sting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at least in that case, they gave us the match we wanted to see. And then, okay, keep the streak alive. We get it. I'm happy about that at least. If he's got to lose, you know? But weird, yeah. I agree. I mean, I feel like Booker T is kind of the only guy that came out of it. And I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but.
Well, Rey Mysterio did.
Rey Mysterio and Jericho, right? Those guys.
Jericho left before.
That's right. That's right. Well, Eddie Guerrero, when he left before.
He left before.
Yeah, he was part of that group, right?
And
the Radicals.
Booker T only made it because of Goldust. When they formed their tag team, because Booker T was floundering.
Yeah, he was kind of.
But yeah, you mentioned the Radicals. Yeah, that was the group with Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn,
yeah.
Chris Benoit.
Yeah, Chris Benoit. That's a sad story, man. I liked him a lot in WCW. He was one of my guys. Chris
Benoit is my second favorite wrestler ever.
Kurt Angle's always going to be my favorite. Who's your favorite?
Booker T.
Oh, Booker. That makes sense. What is he, 12-time world champ? What's Booker?
Five-time.
That's right. That's right. Booker's cool. Have you ever met him?
No.
Oh, bummer.
I know it'd be cool if I could.
Yeah. You would think there'd be some fan event or something in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, somewhere around you, maybe.
I would have to look to see and then travel to go, and I don't like to leave my house too much.
Yeah, I get it. Well, what's it like? So do you live close to the university?
I live half a mile from the college.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, I walk to work sometimes. It's nice.
Wow, beautiful, man. Yeah. And Alabama, so you're getting 4 seasons. So is your winter probably not super harsh, huh?
No, it gets cold.
Yeah.
But we don't get a lot of snow. It just gets cold, which it doesn't get too cold. Like, no, you're in Chicago?
Yeah.
It doesn't get Chicago cold.
Yeah.
But no, it's mostly warm. We get hot. We get real hot. We get a lot of bugs during the summer.
Do you miss Tennessee at all?
The library that I worked at had a bunch of kids in it. I really like kids.
Yeah.
14 and under, you're my best friend.
Sure.
And the library I worked at was right behind the middle school, and it was in an area with a lot of stay-at-home moms. So there was just always kids there, and I miss always being around the kids and interacting with the babies. But other than that, no, I'm where I need to be. I'm where I want to be.
Yeah. I mean, it aligns perfectly what I thought. I mean, if I would have had a crystal ball and in college predicted what you would have done or been as a career and adult, I would have thought, like I said, college professor, or I would have thought politician, like a radical politician, somebody that is on a campaign.
I always thought of being a politician, but like you said, I'm super rational, and rationally speaking, I'm not going to win any elections.
I don't know, man. It depends
Oh.
on the platform. Who knows? But I mean, that would have to be something you would really want, because why subject yourself to such scrutiny? My God.
And then I feel more can be done on a grassroots level by me. Though some people they can go the politician route. That's how they can do their thing. I feel like if I could work with people on a personal level, that's another way to affect change.
Yeah.
And working out of college, I'm with young kids who could go on to be politicians. Maybe I can
100%.
influence them some. I can influence teachers some.
100%.
I'm going to be a lawyer, a doctor. So I feel there's more ways to get things done than just politics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still the radical, I'm the radical librarian. It's
right. Which actually makes perfect sense in so many ways. It's so funny too that you classify yourself as someone who wasn't a good student, because maybe I don't know. I never saw your report card. You weren't a great student, but you were always academically had the aptitude and the ability. I mean, you helped me with a number of assignments for sure. I mean, I feel like, you were always super smart and stuff, I guess. So I guess you just weren't if you weren't interested in homework, you wouldn't do it. I guess
No, I wouldn't at all. And I actually didn't make good grades until I got to college. Because in college, you took the classes you wanted to take. You didn't get your homework assignment every night. It was like a test once every 3-4 weeks.
Right.
So that really fit my learning style perfectly. I could take the classes I want to take, read the readings, and then take a test.
Yeah.
Perfect for me. Having to take all these classes I'm not interested in, having this assignment due this night, then the next night this other assignment. I just wasn't into that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you again. Kind of as a final thought, do you have any shout outs or anybody you want to kind of say hello or thank you to?
Well, first, thank you to you.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
For having me. I remember we planned this like a year ago, but then it just never worked.
Right.
No, that's really about it. I'm not really one for shout outs and thank you. Ooh, let me tell you this story.
Yeah, please.
This past Saturday, I drove to Reinhardt University to watch Bethel play football.
Wow. Is that crazy now? They're like a real team.
Yes. When we were first there, it was terrible.
No, you had to walk to the high school, the neighboring high school for practice, borrow their field. And
to the middle school.
The middle school.
They will move nothing on the middle school field.
Oh, yes. And in the rain and just, oh God.
But now, they've made playoff runs in the past. Yeah. They've had undefeated seasons until they made the playoffs. And so I'm that kind of alum. I travel to games every now and then.
I think that's cool, man. That's really cool. I would love to go to their homecoming. I wonder when that is this year.
October. I won't go to it.
Oh, it's in October.
I believe it's October 15th.
Okay. Oh, right around the corner. Yikes.
Yeah. I'm going to a game there the week before.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet I would still recognize faces. I'm sure there's still some people there. Maybe not many. Who knows? But professors or, administration,
Few of the professors are still there.
Yeah, that's cool. It was a really good experience. I mean, I probably should have stayed longer. I felt like it was a little too small for me at the time. But I was always in a rush my whole life. But it was still very nurturing in so many ways. And it was perfect little step in between for me. But yeah, I love Bethel. It's just weird to me when they turned to Bethel University.
I did not like
that. Was weird in the and then are they Division I or they're still private? So probably not, huh?
Well, they're still NAIA.
Okay.
They're real small. Talladega, where I work, is also NAIA.
Oh, really?
The girls' basketball teams played each other.
Yeah. Is it competitive? Probably not, right?
Oh no, it was real competitive.
Oh, it was? Because the basketball was sort of Bethel's sport a little bit. Yeah.
Women's basketball still is.
Okay.
Coach Nelson, he was a student there while we were there. He's the coach now. He took over for Coach Eddings.
Okay.
He kept the program going. They're still nationally ranked, making runs in the tournament.
Wow, that's amazing.
They came down 2 years ago to Talladega to play. It was during COVID, so nobody's allowed at the games. So I talked to the athletic director and the women's basketball coach. I was like, look, this is my alma mater coming down. You got to let me in the gym for this.
Yeah, for sure.
So he said, okay, you could come in. So I walk over and I'm talking to Coach Nelson, and he's surprised that I'm there. I'm like, oh, I drove down from Tennessee to watch the game. No, I'm kidding. I work here.
Hilarious.
So I'm sitting with the Bethel girls, talking with the coach while I'm cheering the Talladega boys while they're playing another. And the whole girls team's looking at me like, why is she sitting here with us cheering for the college we're about to play? And then the girls played, and I just kind of sat there with my hands in my pocket, and then they
You just want to see how it play out. Let's see this, how this happens. Yeah.
I just wanted good game. I just wanted them all to have fun.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Man, I'm so happy that like you're in a career and like life mode, location, place, all these things are like in line with kind of where your spirit should be. Like it all makes sense. Like it's really great. Like it's cool. And I'm happy you're still the same positive guy. That's awesome too. Mm-hmm. Man, it's been awesome talking to you. Like a real pleasure. Yeah, for sure. I feel like I still learn from you too, which is wild. Yeah. So yeah, again, this has really been my pleasure. I wish it could have come together sooner, but it's weird. One final thought as you were talking too. Did I see or read that Deionsanders is alum from Talladega?
Deionsanders graduated from Talladega College 2020.
2020. Yeah, I did just read that. Yeah. I thought I was like the real prime time.
It was cool. Like I said, I work at the museum. And we were in the museum before graduation with all the VIPs and board members. And I'm looking at my coworker. I'm like, that guy over there looks like Deionsanders. Yo, I think that is Deionsanders.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then, like, when I went up, I talked to him. We fist bumped and all that. And I go to the office where the director is. I'm like, Deionsanders, he's the man. She's like, what? I go, Deionsanders, no prime time. He's the man. She's like, okay. Like, I just fist bumped him. She goes, you just fist bumped Deionsanders. I was like, yeah. Like, you don't know Deionsanders is right here?
He's outside. Yeah.
It was funny. He was, they kept his graduating a secret. He was under our online program, so he was under a different name, so nobody would know.
Wow.
So he was the surprise guest speaker for graduation. I think the parents went crazier for him than the students did.
Oh, really? The generation gap.
And to us, he's prime time.
He's prime time, man, dude.
No, like
he played baseball and football on the same day, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, dude. Oh, yeah. Prime time.
So all the kids were like, my dad was going crazy, and I'm like, who is this guy?
That would have been me too. Yeah. I'm positive. I don't remember the name, but I'm positive I spent $19.99 on his rap CD, his R&B CD, which was awful, but I was that big of a fan that I like went to a Sam Goodies, which doesn't exist anymore, in a mall, and I was like, I'll buy the primetime R&B album, please.
He had like the dance moves and all that.
Yes. Yeah. Man, I was such a fan of that guy. That's so cool. What a cool alumni. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. And then afterwards, he came back to the museum to hang out some more.
Oh, wow. And did he get to check out the murals?
He did. Him and his entourage did. Wow. So I maneuvering my way next to him so I could, hey, man, take a picture with me real quick.
Oh, yeah? Did you get one?
I did.
That's cool.
In front of my favorite mural.
Oh, okay. Which one's your favorite?
It's the fifth one, the first day of registration at Talladega. It has Swain Hall in the background, the building built by slaves. It has William Savery in it, the man who founded Talladega College. And the reason why it's my favorite is it has a bunch of farm animals in it and people carrying crops. That's because this is how they paid their tuition. You know, they were slaves, never paid for their work. So the college was like, do whatever you can and we'll accept you.
Wow.
So they brought crops, they brought livestock, they built buildings, they maintained the landscape. Being a black college in Alabama at that time wasn't necessarily safe. So the college had to be self-sustaining. So the students grew the food for the college.
Interesting.
So just like all that comes to life in that mural, just the whole struggle. So that's my favorite one. And then just taking a picture with prime time in front of that mural, and oh man, it was just so cool.
That's so surreal. Yeah, the story in the story there. Wow, I got chills. That's wild. Wow. What an amazing barter system too. But it's self-sustaining, beautiful. Wow.
I mean, they would walk they wouldn't even be accepted into college. They just heard there was a college teaching Black people how to read. And they would walk however many miles they had to with a bag of corn.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
and show up like, will you accept me? And the
Wow.
college would.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. I imagine you have such passionate alumni. I mean, not everybody can be that way, but those who are, I imagine it really means something very, very special.
Oh, it means a lot. Our alum, like the ones who are really proud of being Talladegans, it means so much to them. Just the story and the history and the fact that they were part of the story, that they contributed to it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Alan, this was my pleasure, man. This was awesome.
Me too, man. This was fun, man. This was fun.
Yeah, it really was. I appreciate catching up and the whole conversation. Thank you again so much. Again, this is True Story, John Gibson and Alan McQueen. Thank you, Alan.